Krishna sadhus and Matajis for chanting. Sometimes we have no idea what it's like to be preaching to new people. Probably 30 years ago. No, maybe around there. Maybe 27 years ago. When we were starting to preach in our hometown. There was just myself, Mother Malika, and our daughter Nandini. She was around maybe 3 years old at that time. We were starting to build our preaching program, and there were a few people, first-timers. For the first couple of months, I would say, every Sunday we have the program. And we have to give ourselves everything, do the marketing, cooking, traveling 1 hour by public transport to the venue with our daughter, with all the pots, with all the danga, and everything, to the public transport by bus. And when you arrive there, people, new faces, no idea about Krishna consciousness. I have to do the chanting, I have to respond. None of them knew the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. So I did the chanting, I respond to the chanting, give the talk, and ask the question, and give the answer, serve the prasadam, and eat the prasadam. They love the prasadam. But there were pictures. Our daughter Nandini, she was like 3 years old. Around that time, she was, of course, myself and my better half, we have to prepare the prasadam ourselves on a plate. Yeah. And then we served it to the guests. And our daughter Nandini, she was 3 years old, and she was also bringing a plate, giving it to the guests like that. And there was the 3 of us, like that. So just to give you an idea what it's like to be in the front line, to preach to new faces, to introduce to them what this Krishna consciousness is all about. You have to do so much sacrifice. You have to sell yourself. You have to forget who you are really. Just be there, be present, and then just execute. That's how we started. And then the rest is history. Can I request all of you to stand up for a minute? Formally, we offer our thanks to Srila Prabhupada, the founder of Vedic Wisdom Class. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachayani Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vaschayadeshwarani Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaurabhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai. Just to give you that perspective, so you can also imagine what it's like to chant with the faithful chanters. You have no idea what it feels like. Mataji's, I don't know, you're all right with English? You're okay with English?
We can understand.
Yes. Can you please face on this side, please? So you can face the altar and Srila Prabhupada. Please, thank you. You're all from Brisbane, yeah? Yes. All from Brisbane. Okay. Krishna consciousness is not an easy subject matter. It is not for the mass of people, but at the same time it is for the most fallen also. So Krishna consciousness, there's so many paradoxes in Krishna consciousness. If you know what I mean, yeah? So this chanting, for example, is the activity of the highly liberated souls, the perfected devotees of the Lord. They were all described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. But at the same time, this is also the prescribed medicine for those who are sick, those who are infected with a very serious disease. And that refers to all of us. Yes? So again, there's a paradox there. The activity of the liberated souls, the perfected devotees of the Lord, but at the same time it is recommended as the perfect, potent, most effective medicine for those who are seriously sick. Now, to give you an idea, Lord Krishna has to come in the form of Lord Chaitanya. Everybody knows Lord Chaitanya? Yes. Yeah? Now, Lord Chaitanya wants to teach us. When we say the world, it refers to us, every single one of us. It's not the world outside, but it is addressed to us being the world. Our entire being, each one of us, that refers to the world. When we say preaching to the world, refers to our entire being, individual entire being. That is the world. So Lord Chaitanya wants the whole world to understand his message. The revelation about the truth of Krishna was given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is no other than Krishna himself, but at the same time, he illustrated to us, he showed to us the position of the living entity who is conditioned by the material energy, by the material world. So I mean to say, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya is relished by the highly liberated devotees, perfected devotees, but at the same time, it is meant for the most fallen. You see, to liberate them too. So Lord Chaitanya specifically came to teach the science of the holy name, to reveal the position of the holy name of Krishna, the holy name of God. Nam Nam, for those who know this verse, Nam Nam Akkari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatra Kitani Amitas Maranena Kalaha Eka Trishi Tava Kripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaivam Nitrisham Ihajana Nuragaha. Translation. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to all living beings. And thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental potencies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you, O Krishna, by your holy name. But I am so unfortunate. that I have no attraction for them. This is Lord Chaitanya's message to all of us. This illustrates our position in this world. Having been given the opportunity to have darshan of the Lord in the form of His holy name. When we are face to face with the truth, like for example the holy name, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Shri Krishna, like that, everything about the absolute truth, we can see clearly ourselves as if they serve as like a mirror for us. We can see through them ourselves, what is our real position in this world. So on one hand, there is the most aspiring goal, the highest goal in life, but at the same time we can see our position in this world. Again, another paradox there. See, they contradict. And we always find ourselves in the middle. We don't know how to resolve these conflicts. It's always been the challenge of the human form of life. Yes? So for example, if one is born, can we give an example? Like someone else's father. Jamadagni Prabhu, for example. Okay. So Jamadagni, may I know your father's name, Prabhu? Harish Gwarani. Harishwar. Mm. So Jamadagni Prabhu is Harishwar Prabhu's son. Yeah? He was born as Harishwar Prabhu's son. Okay? So being related to Harishwar Prabhu, he cannot change it. It stays with him because he was born with it. Yes? So for example, if you're born, like for example, let's say, like a male, of course nowadays they can easily change the gender, yeah? But if you're born a male, you see, you cannot change it. You're always remain a male, yeah? Mm-hmm. So this is as a matter of principle, meaning we are born with a particular identity that we cannot change it. That is why it is called born with. Yes? So in relation to the holy name of Krishna, being the activity of the highly perfected devotees of the Lord, you see, our position is that we have no attachment to it. We have no attraction to it. We have no taste to the holy name, to the chanting of the holy name. That is our born. That we are born with that. You see, our sort of identity. Born with no attachment to the holy name. That is our birth. That is the meaning of that verse. Durdaivam idrisham ihajani na muragaha. We are born with no attachment, with no taste to the holy name. So if you're going to understand, study a little bit deeper the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, we can see ourselves. What are we? What is our real position? We are born with this. We have no attachment to the holy name. You see, and therefore, as the mission of the perfected devotees of the Lord, the wise men, all the wise men, in relation to the mission of Krishna, they always try to educate the people of the world of this message, of this truth. We are born with no attraction to the Lord. But they serve this mission like their life's breath. The pure devotees of the Lord, they give their life to preach this, to take this challenge, to change that identity, to change that born with no attachment to Krishna. We're going to change that. This is the mission of the pure devotees of Krishna. It's a taskless task. Suppose if I will say to Jamadagni Prabhu, me and myself, we just met, and then I will change Jamadagni Prabhu's identity. You're no longer your father's son. You're no longer related to Harishwar Prabhu. Impossible. It is impossible. But this is the mission of the pure devotees of Krishna. Because this is what Krishna wants. So they don't care if it is impossible, but they nevertheless have to execute it. This is the message of Lord Chaitanya. This is the mission of Srila Prabhupada. This is how great this movement is. When Srila Prabhupada said that this movement is the highest welfare work that the world has ever seen, because of that, it's not an easy job. Maybe some of you may say, oh, hang on, I think I went to the wrong association today. Just go out and, sorry, this is not mine. It's not what I'm looking for. People want easy things. People want instant benediction, yes? But they don't realize that the holy name of Krishna, you see, it gives all the benedictions. You see? But people, because they have no, so they are devoid of the association of the pure devotees of Krishna. And therefore they have no idea that all sorts of benedictions that people are looking for is present in the holy names of Krishna. The holy names of Krishna is none different from Krishna, that it can bestow all transcendental benedictions. Benedictions that last forever. You see, this is what Krishna consciousness is. And this is what we come to realize when we constantly chant the holy names of Krishna. To constantly chant the holy name of Krishna is the medicine, yes, for us to overcome our position in this world, having no taste for chanting the holy names of Krishna. To constantly chant the holy name of Krishna means to hear the message of the pure and honest servant of the holy name. And that is in the person of Srila Prabhupada. To hear his message. Chanting Hare Krishna is not just bubbling Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, and you don't understand anything. You miss the whole point. The natural effect of constant chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is that one will be able to grasp that hidden message of a pure and honest servant of the holy name, like Srila Prabhupada. Forgive me sometimes if I say things like intense, but as I have referred earlier in the beginning, when we say preaching to the world, means preaching to our entire being. So sometimes we have to deliver with intensity in order to check our entire being, meaning myself. So how do we understand the message of Srila Prabhupada? Can anyone say? I'm just thinking, aside from serving Srila Prabhupada's movement, the greatest asset that ISKCON has is one thing only. And that table, yes, you're right, Mataji, thank you very much. That table there, that is the greatest asset, the greatest wealth of this movement that Srila Prabhupada established, the books of Srila Prabhupada. The books of Srila Prabhupada, sometimes it is described as the seed of that Harinam, the seed of the Harinam. That's why Srila Prabhupada is glorified as the Jagat Guru. This Jagat Guru is not ordinarily given to just any random self-proclaimed guru or whatever, having a few disciples like that. No, a real Jagat Guru is he who was able to plant the seed of the absolute truth in the heart of the people of the world. So these books of Srila Prabhupada serve as the seed of that Harinam. The seed bears the full potency, the full power of a fully grown, mature tree. But it's in the seed form. Yes? So anyone who receives the books of Srila Prabhupada all throughout the world receives the seed. You see? Prabhupada would sometimes say, I have given you the seed. Sometimes Prabhupada would say to his disciples, I have given you the seed. But if you keep the seed on the drawer, you have your drawer. If you keep the seed in your drawer, it's not going to grow. Prabhupada said, seed is meant to be planted, to be sown, to be cultivated, to be looked after, to be taken care of. That is the nature of the seed. So the nature of the books of Srila Prabhupada has a similar potency. That's why Srila Prabhupada is the Jagat Guru, if you come to understand the real meaning of what Jagat Guru is. He is the Guru of the entire universe. This book is so powerful. There are so many stories I can share with you, but we have very limited time. Practical experiences in the field. How people are transformed just by getting in contact with Prabhupada's books, even for the first time. So to be able to hear and understand the message of Srila Prabhupada, we have to constantly or regularly study the books of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, I did not write these books to be sold, to get some petty cash or whatever. No, Prabhupada said, I wrote these books for you to study. It's not meant just to be distributed and get Lakshmi points and Jai Haribol. Prabhupada said, I wrote these books for you to study. You have to study these books. By studying these books, it is not just to learn something new. Sometimes we heard a lot of devotees that will say, every time they open a Bhagavad Gita, randomly, any page or Bhagavatam, any books of Prabhupada, even though they have read this book many times, but every time they open it, a particular verse or a particular page, and they will say, I have read this many, many times, but every time I open it, it gives me some new meaning. Yes, it's true, yeah? Because that is the nature of spiritual subject matter. It is an ever-increasing, nectar. There's no end to the revelations of the nectar. There is no end. But that is not our purpose, why we were being asked by Srila Prabhupada to study the books of Srila Prabhupada. It is meant to review, actually. It is meant to be, for us to be reminded of what is expected of us. That's why I asked in the beginning, how many initiated disciples here? Yes? What is expected of us? So if we constantly, regularly study the books of Prabhupada, you will be reminded about this obligation, about this duty. What is expected of us? Especially those who are initiated disciples. But of course, for those who have come here for the first time, or for those who have been associating with this Krishna conscious movement for some time, this is similarly applied to you also. What is expected to everyone who would come in the association of Krishna? What is expected?
To learn and share it.
Mm?
To learn what's on the books and share them to others.
Yes. That is to preach, yeah?
Yeah.
But to be more specific, I'll tell you, what is expected to us is to learn detachment, renunciation. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayan Ahaitukam. Vairagyam. You see? What is the meaning of the translation of that verse? As soon as one renders devotional service to the transcendental Lord, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. Two things. So that is why even those who are not initiated, those who have come to associate, those who have come to know Krishna, nothing happened by chance, Prabhupada would always say. Yeah? Even to the most insignificant living form, for example, like a grass, Prabhupada would cite that example, seemingly very insignificant. Nobody cares about the grass. Okay? But here Prabhupada would point that even a grass, a single blade of grass will not move unless it is sanctioned by the Lord. You see, that is very insignificant in our relativization, yes? But Prabhupada is trying to illustrate that our meeting with Krishna is definitely willed by the Lord. It is not by chance. Yes? So that is why when we come to associate with Krishna consciousness, we come to know Krishna, we get darshans of Krishna, yes? What is expected of us? We should learn about the purpose of this human form of life, basically to learn detachment, to learn renunciation, the true definition of these things. Apart from the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, which is the perfect medicine to cure our serious disease of material attachment, right? But at the same time, Krishna wants to reciprocate to us by making us understand this message. You have to learn how to become detached too. Help yourself, yes? This is the message. This is the expectation. No, I know our conditioned mind will challenge this and will say, here we are again, talking about detachment. But our reality is very, very powerful. Our immediate reality is the most powerful of all in our present condition, yes? In our present life. With so many obligations, with so many relationships, social relationships, families, friends, society, everything. They're so powerful, they're pulling us, right, on its side. And the spiritual potency, the spiritual power, we can feel that it is less powerful in relation to our immediate reality. This is a very powerful force. So when we hear the word detachment, renunciation, sometimes we say, oh, where we are again. Right? But Srila Prabhupada make it easier for us to understand what real detachment or renunciation means. That is, we simply have to realize or understand that Krishna is the Parameshvara. What is that verse from Bhagavad Gita? Bhoktaram Jagatapasha Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. You see, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, that Krishna is the supreme controller, the supreme proprietor of all the planetary systems, both the spiritual and the material worlds, including the inhabitants thereof. So we are all own. We are all the properties of Krishna. Nothing belongs to us. So this is how Srila Prabhupada will teach the world the real meaning of renunciation. So when we come face to face with this reality of the Lord, Lord Krishna being the supreme proprietor of everything, nothing belongs to us, then immediately one learns to become detached from the results of his work. We have to renounce that spirit of trying to enjoy the results of our work. And not to renounce the work itself, but simply to renounce that idea of so-called proprietorship, entitlement to enjoy the fruits of our work. That is what we are trying to detach ourselves from. That is the message of Godhead. Yes? Sometimes I have to be very conscious of the time.
No, you don't worry about that.
This is detachment, yes? But again, because we are confronted by both worlds, our immediate reality, we have families, we have friends, children and everything, we have jobs and assets and everything, yes? Maybe some say 50-50, 50 to our material obligations and 50 to Krishna. And sometimes say, oh, maybe I will give 10 to Krishna and 90 for my material obligations, like that. And people would agree to that. They will be happy, yes? If that's a good deal for people of the world. 90 for my material obligations and just 10% for Krishna. Yeah? So still it poses as a challenge, the greatest challenge, you see, in the human sense, in our total being, you see. And sometimes that's why you cannot blame the atheists, yes, and agnostics. You cannot blame them, because this has been being thrown to what do you call this? Sorry for the word, but sometimes the pathetic congregation. Sorry for the word. You know, they've been being thrown this message, this you have to be detached and you have to renounce and everything like that. And none of the congregation is really happy to hear about it, because they're more happy to have 90-10. You know, 90 for me and to serve my wishes here, and then 10% to Krishna. You see? But this is our position, yeah? Nobody is really ready to apply the principle of renunciation in their lives, especially if it would include our families and children. What will happen to my children if I, give everything to Krishna? You see? So there's so many considerations here. But you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry. What is that verse again? Another verse is, I remember. Yeah, because there are two things that describe in that verse: knowledge and renunciation. Yeah, vairagyam jnanam chayadahaitukam. Renunciation and knowledge. One immediately acquires these two. Yeah, two things. But there's another verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam that says, Evam prashana manaso. Bhagavat Bhakti Yogata, you see. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, a man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service of the Lord. What is the next verse? Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayati Ashu, Bhakti Bhagavatattva Vijnanam Bhagavatattva Vijnanam Jnanam Chayat Haitukam. You see, one immediately acquires one gains positive scientific knowledge, Bhagavatattva Vijnanam. You see, one gains positive scientific knowledge. In the stage of liberation, Mukta Sangasha Jayate. In the stage of liberation from all material association. You see, so we're struggling with this 90-20 or 50-50 or whatever. We're struggling, but at the same time, by situating ourselves in that unalloyed goodness. Unalloyed goodness means just like four relative principles, yes? No meat, fish, no meat, fish and eggs, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. If one follows this, one immediately becomes situated in the mode of goodness. If we add the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one becomes situated in the pure, unalloyed mode of goodness. Pure, unalloyed, much higher. You see? So when one is situated on that platform, referring to the sincere, humble devotee, you see, then he gains positive scientific knowledge. The Lord in the heart will give that knowledge, that ability for an honest, aspiring devotee. How to apply renunciation in the truest sense, in the most practical way. That one no longer has to, like constantly figure out how to do this, like this and that, So this is what we learn. This is what is expected from anyone who comes in contact with Krishna consciousness, to learn these things. But for those who are advancing and progressing properly in this service, of course they have to take up the mission by preaching, those who are preachers. You see? What is our preaching? This is expected. Everyone is expected to learn how to preach this philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Everyone who comes in contact with Krishna consciousness. It doesn't matter whatever your position is in the social world. It doesn't matter. To preach, again, when we say preach to the world, we don't have to really shave our heads up like this and, assume this habit as a traditional monk or devotee and present this mission of Srila Prabhupada and Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, in a traditional way. We don't have to. Preach means, learn how to preach. This philosophy means to be able to convince ourselves about this truth. That is actual preaching. To be able to convince ourselves about this truth, about these principles. Yes? So if one gets to that point, yes? And then one is able to preach. Again, it's a kind of a tricky kind of principle, yes? To be able to convince ourselves about this truth, we have to repeat what we have heard. Either you repeat it orally, just by yourself alone in the room, or you repeat it with others present. But nevertheless, you have to repeat it, you have to recite it, you have to chant it. There are so many beautiful verses in the Bhagavatam, yes? Srotavya kirtitavyasya dhyayas puja chanityada. Tashmat ekena manasa, with one pointed attention. You see, one should shrotavya. With one pointed attention, one should constantly shrotavya, hear about. So we hear just like now, we are hearing. You're not hearing from me, we are hearing from Srila Prabhupada, because what I'm trying to say here is in the books of Srila Prabhupada. So we're hearing Srila Prabhupada, maybe through your humble servant here, like that. So we're hearing the teachings of Krishna consciousness. Shrotavya kirtitavyasya. Hearing is not enough. We have to chant as well. We have to recite it as well. We have to vibrate it, what we have heard. The sample of the Kirtan, Hare Krishna Kirtan earlier is the best example of that. But this principle can be applied, you see, all throughout all aspects of Krishna consciousness. Whatever we learn, we have to vibrate it. Anything about cooking, about cleaning the temple, or deity worship, you name it, all aspects of Krishna consciousness, they come through sound vibration. You have to repeat it. You have to vibrate it. You see? This is preaching. We are vibrating it to be able to understand the message ourselves. This is preaching. This is what is expected from everyone who comes in contact with Krishna consciousness. This is not a kind of a dogmatic kind of assembly or program that you come and sit down and listen to the sermon and then whatever. You know, and every day or every weekend you come and do the same pattern, the same thing again and again, and as if, you know, and then again the preacher or the minister or the priest or the preacher would say the same thing again and again, and then you hear one thing here and you just go the other end like this, and then anyway, prasadam is nice and whatever. You see? So this is not what Krishna consciousness is, sorry to say. Krishna consciousness is an internal state. It's an internal state. You cannot see Krishna consciousness. You can appreciate Krishna consciousness. Because real Krishna consciousness happens inside. You cannot see it, but you can only appreciate it. So that is why everyone is expected to understand these things. That is why we have to constantly study the books of Prabhupada that will remind us. Prabhupada did not write these books for any other purpose. That's why he said that it will come down in the history of the world. There will come a time that these books of Srila Prabhupada will serve as the law books for mankind. Now, we don't have that faith and we don't have that vision to be able to see that happening, yes? But so far we have described, you can immediately understand, yes, it's going to happen one day. This is what Krishna consciousness is. So the books of Srila Prabhupada is the wealth of ISKCON, the wealth of the devotees in this movement that Srila Prabhupada established, and they are meant for us to study regularly, to remind ourselves about the expectation. See? And aside from that, that will also enable us to see what is the future of this mission. Unless you study the books of Prabhupada, you won't be able to see where is this movement going to. No, you won't be able to. Because that is the purpose of these books. Prabhupada wrote all these books for the future generations of the world. You see? To connect the past, present, and future. That's how powerful these books of Srila Prabhupada are. Srila Prabhupada ki. See, so we have to constantly study these books. What is the future of this movement? So our duty is to preach, to convince ourselves, yes, and by constantly reminding ourselves about what is expected of us, and then we will also be able to see what's ahead of us. What's the future of this movement? Yes, sometimes Srila Prabhupada will say to his disciples, it may not be possible to turn this world into a Vaikuntha. Right? Meaning to spiritualize this material world. It's not possible, yes? So Srila Prabhupada said, it may not be possible, but if you make it your life's goal, heavy words by Srila Prabhupada, if you make it your life's goal to turn this place into Vaikuntha, Prabhupada said, at least your life becomes perfect. That is envisioning the future of this movement. Yeah? To try to spiritualize this place, which is not possible at all. But if you try to, just like I said earlier, yeah? If I'm going to change Prabhu Jamadagni's identity is no longer Harishwar Prabhu's son. You see? That's not possible. Yes? So similarly, if we try to change the nature of this place and make it into like spiritual heaven or whatever, you see, it's not possible, Srila Prabhupada said. But if you want to make that your goal, then at least your life is perfect. That's how we make your life perfect. By enabling ourselves to be able to see what's in the future, what's ahead of us. This is the power of the pure devotee of Krishna. How do you like it so far?
Very powerful.
Srila Prabhupada is very powerful. This movement of Krishna consciousness is most powerful you will ever see. It's worth giving our life to, yes?
Yes.
Very kindly, any question or comments so far? Otherwise I would not stop. There's so many things in my head that I really want to share, but yes, to give you the chance. Any question or comments? Yes, please, Madam.
Prabhu, I'm still, the way you started your class talking about the outreach program that you were doing with your wife and your little one, and you spoke about how you used to cook and clean and give the class and do the kirtan, but it was just not a one-day job, right? You have to plan for it, you have to market it. It went on for days or the whole week. My question is, during those times when you were preaching like this, how did you manage your little one? Like, did you ever feel guilty in a way of doing too many services and not having enough time for her? Or how did you manage your little one into all of that with too many services in hand?
Very good question. All of us can relate to that, and I would say we are on the same boat, yes, with regards to our children, how we're going to manage our time, looking after our children at the same time executing our duties in Krishna consciousness. You see this pressure left and right, yes? But that is I would say, a personal matter. You see, that the relationship between husband and wife is most crucial. If husband and wife is on the same page, they can do magic. They can achieve wonderful things. That is the basic principle of serving Krishna consciousness involving our families. Husband and wife should be on the same page. So again, it's a personal matter. Sometimes they handle it in their own way, and some others they may handle it in a different way. But nevertheless, they were able to raise their children nicely with Krishna consciousness, with all the values and the principles of Krishna consciousness instilled, but at the same time they were able to execute their duties in Krishna consciousness. So it depends on the personal application. And, I would say personally with my better half, Mother Malika here, Gurudev told her, when I was a brahmachari, I was arranged, we were both arranged. And Srila Gurudev, if you know His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, he's my initiated master. So when he arranged us for marriage, and then Mother Malika during that time she was working as a teacher in the university. She's never been raised in the temple. Not like myself, I was trained in the temple as a brahmachari, as a Sankirtan devotee like that. So Gurudev gave a very specific instruction to Mother Malika. Malika, you have married a poor Brahmana preacher. So sort of she's giving that expectation from others. Don't expect too much. Don't force your husband to do what is not, he's not dharma, this dharma. Like that. So you work and then let your husband preach. But of course, that is the idea. The idea is there, but it depends to the two of us. The two of us, how we're going to apply this instruction, Srila Gurudev. Meaning, on one hand, he has to continue to work for the family, the source of our livelihood, and on the other hand, the preaching has to go on. So we figured it out ourselves, how to serve both instruction. So I did not just preach and did not do anything when it comes to how to address our monetary needs also. I have to do that part too. But the message was very clear, that preaching should not be given up. Like that. So therefore it's very important for husband and wife to be on the same page.
Thank you, Brother.
Thank you too, Mataji. Anyone else? Very kindly. Please forgive me sometimes if I have to speak in a bit intense and strong. But you haven't seen it yet. There's so much magic in the service of this movement. There are great gurus and sannyasis and devotees who are serving this movement to a greater capacity. Myself is nothing in comparison to them. But I can speak like this, being myself in the field. In the field, you have to meet a lot of oppositions, you have to meet a lot of random people. You have no idea what's going to come to you. And you have to be prepared all the time. You see? So we have to take the challenge. We have to try to serve this mission as humble as we can. Hare Krishna. Please forgive me for any offenses, Prabhus. This is my first time and I'm very happy to be given this opportunity to speak, to share to you some bits and pieces of my practical experience in serving this mission to the tiniest degree. It's good to meet you all. Nice to meet you all, Prabhus. My pleasure to serve you in whatever way, whatever form. Thank you, Srila Prabhu, for this opportunity.
Thank you for coming.
So, next program is Kirtan Arati. Yes, again, we glorified the position of Srila Prabhupada, and now we glorify also the leaderships that Srila Prabhupada worked. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Bharat Vijay Te Sri Krishna Sankirtanam ki Jai.
His Grace Narada Rsi Prabhu ki Jai.